Hi, I'm Daniel Forrest, Product Concierge for Knauz Continental Autos in Lake Bluff, Illinois. In this video, we'll be doing a comparison between the Amg Gt and the Amg Gt 63, commonly referred to as the Amg Gt 4-door. All GTs have the Amg handcrafted 4-liter bi-turbo V8. With us today, we have an Amg GTR. This is the top trim level with the full 577 horsepower. One of the most prominent styling features on the Amg Gt is its signature Panamericana grille. This grille was used on the Mercedes-Benz SL race car that was originally involved in the 1950 race, spanning almost 2,200 miles through Central America, widely regarded as one of the most dangerous races of all time. The Amg GTR sits on huge 19-inch wheels in the front and 20-inch wheels on the back. It is riding on Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2 tires, and you will notice the huge perforated and slotted front brakes on the vehicle. You will notice the body lines of this iconic vehicle really shown with this iridium silver magno paint that just really lets you see all of the lines throughout the car. And then moving on to the back is where we see some more real big styling cues. So if you look a little bit up top, you'll notice the carbon fiber roof as well as this massive carbon fiber spoiler. The Amg GTR has just over 10 cubic feet of cargo space. Definitely enough room to throw a couple bags in and go on a weekend trip. So something we have to talk about in a vehicle like this are the seats. So in the Amg GTR, this vehicle is equipped with the AMG Performance bucket seats. They have fixed head restraints. They are very aggressively bolstered, and they are sporty seats meant to hug you and keep you stable during high cornering maneuvers. So here we are on the interior of the Amg GTR, and the first word I would use to describe this is a cockpit. 100%, this is a driver-centric interior. Everything that you're going to need to control any of the main performance functions of the vehicle will be right exactly where you need it. You'll notice that the steering wheel is wrapped in beautiful microfiber suede with the signature AMG magnetic shift paddles. These are responsive, lightning quick, and make you feel really engaged with the car. You also notice you have the line at top dead center for when you're doing performance driving. That way you always know where the top of the wheel is. You'll notice over here these nice vents with the screen integrated into the dash, and one of the signature things on the GTR that this vehicle has and no other GT does is this traction control switch. 3-speed traction control is standard on the Amg GT. However, in the GTR, what you get is a 9-stage traction control, ranging from basically a full nanny mode where anyone could drive it to 100% off, and you are 100% on your own. So down here we have all our climate controls. They are all toggle switches, and where things get really sweet is in the center console right here. So you'll notice that there is this beautiful woven carbon fiber. We have the Falterbach crest emblazoned onto the center console, and then we have various toggle switches and buttons that we can press. We have our central controller with the touchpad control for the infotainment screen, a very nice gear shifter, and then kind of moving down the line, what we have is our dynamic select switch, ranging everything from comfort mode to sport plus to race mode. We have our prominent engine start stop button. This is another way you can turn off the stability control in this vehicle. We have our suspension dampening settings right there, so 3 different levels of suspension comfort, ranging from a pretty subdued normal ride you could drive around town with no problems to a basically full-out race car where you're going to be riding on rails and feel every single bump you come across. So over here we have a volume control for the radio as well as a power switch to turn it off. Here we have our button which will put the transmission into a dedicated manual mode. So you will have to change every gear. We can turn off the automatic start-stop function, so that is when the vehicle turns itself off at a stoplight. If you're not a fan, you do have a means to turn that off quite quickly. And then what I think is one of the coolest buttons in the car, saving the best for last, is going to be the Amg 2-stage performance exhaust. So what this is going to allow is for you to open up a couple of vanes in the exhaust, which makes it quiet or loud depending on your driving style or if you don't want to wake up your neighbors. Like I said, what a beautiful place to be. So now that we've taken a look around the exterior and interior of the Amg GTR, there's no denying that this is a sweet ride and a sweet place to be. However, this is basically a track car that is road legal. If you want something you can put your friends in the back, if you're trying to take more than just one person with you, we're going to talk about the GT63. This is an AMG GT63, or like we said before, commonly referred to as a GT 4-door. Up front, you'll notice this large, prominent Panamericana grille, which is going to allow in lots of air for that big honkin' V8 underneath the hood, but that is where a lot of the styling cues on the front will end. You'll notice the headlights are vastly different, and the biggest difference between the two is that this one has 4 doors. So moving on up to the front, you'll notice not only that huge grille that lets in a lot of air, but if you look on the bottom corners of the front fascia, you'll notice these huge air inlets. What those are going to allow for is extra air for the intercooler so that this engine can keep cool when you're driving it hard. So if we look underneath the hood, moving kind of up, you'll notice the large AMG logo on the engine cover, as well as that crest with the signature of the engine builder. And if we move even a little bit closer towards the engine, what you'll notice is a window to the hot inside V. That is a signature turbo setup where we basically flip the position of where they would traditionally be so they're closer to the exhaust side, so that way it increases response time. You don't have to wait for those turbos to spool up before they start doing their intended purpose. Moving along the side of the vehicle, one thing you will notice are these awesome AMG forged multi-spoke wheels. So they are 21 inches in the front and the back. They are a staggered stance, so the tires to the vehicle are actually narrower in the front than they are in the back. Gives you better dynamics when you're doing performance driving. The vehicle is sitting on Michelin Pilot Sport Cup 2s, which are an aggressive performance tire, and you will notice these large prominent AMG calipers for the brakes, and I would like to point out that we have these nice ventilated rotors. That is a key difference. These are not cross-drilled rotors like you commonly see on performance cars, so these rotors are actually forged with the perforations made into the casque, so that way the brakes have more structural integrity. They're not going to warp under heavy braking. You will also notice the 4MATIC Plus badge, so what that's going to allow is a fully customizable all-wheel drive or rear-wheel drive car. And then kind of moving on to the back of the vehicle, one of the coolest things about this car has got to be the active spoiler, which has multiple positions which you can set it depending on your driving needs. The AMG GT63 has just over 16 cubic feet of cargo space, as well as the hands-free access. Welcome to the back seat of an AMG GT63. And I do not mean this lightly when I say this is a nice place to hang out and spend some time. The seats are definitely fairly aggressively bolstered. They're going to keep you in place if the driver up front starts to do some performance-oriented driving, but they are nice and relaxed. The seats are plush, they're comfortable. I have climate vents, and not only that, but I have Burmester speakers in the back as well as heated rear seats. So that way in the wintertime, still plenty of comfort to be had back here. And not only that, but I think one of the coolest things is that there are cup holders for the rear seat occupants, a storage cubby, and not one, not two, but 3 USB ports, a 115 volt outlet, and a 12 volt adapter in case you need to charge any one of your devices. That way you always are charged, always in contact with the people you need to. So here we are driving the AMG GT63. Like I said earlier, this is an amazing place to spend some time. This particular AMG GT63 is equipped with the auburn brown and black interior with the carbon fiber stitching all on the panels throughout the car, as well in the center console. It makes for a really high quality look. Not just that, but we have tons of toggle switches for all the pertinent active safety features in the vehicle, including everything for Distronic, as well as the parking sensors can be disabled here too. Everything is fully customizable with the two 12.3-inch displays, so no matter what you want on the middle or the center, you can kind of set it up however you'd like, and we will see a little bit of the acceleration here. All right, that was shifting at about 3,000 RPM at about 1/3 of the available throttle. As you can see, that got us up to merging highway speed in absolutely no time. The way I would describe the way the power comes on in this vehicle is absolutely effortless. One of the most amazing things that I think AMG has done with this particular engine is increase the availability of usable torque compared to a lot of the naturally aspirated motors. So one of the most impressive feats that I find about this car is that peak torque in this particular vehicle is 590 pound-feet. 590 pound-feet of torque is available starting at 2,500 RPM, and that continues all the way up to 5,000 RPM in this 63. So if you want to pass someone on the highway, you're gonna move. What we'll talk about next is going to be this instrument cluster. You have a myriad of different displays that you can choose from. Right now I have the Super Sport display. The default display in the car is the Sport screen, and in addition to that, if you're feeling a little bit more sophisticated, maybe a little bit more old school, you absolutely have the means to have a classic gauge style. So that is going to be 2 analog stylistically set up gauges. They'll be kind of signature Mercedes look. And then if you look in the center screen, what's really nice over here is you can sort of put whatever sort of information you want. So one of the options you have is going to be an engine output configuration. So what that will show you is output readings in real time of the horsepower and torque produced by the engine, in addition to the trans and oil temperatures in the car, so you can make sure everything is operating as it should. In addition to that, you have a vehicle data display that you can put up here, and what's really nice about that is that's going to give you a G meter, so you can see how many G-forces you are experiencing in any given direction. And in addition to that, it gives you your throttle, brake inputs, and steering angle with the car. One thing I would like to talk about for just a minute with you guys is going to be the AMG flat bottom performance steering wheel. I cannot describe to you how chunky, how ergonomic, how meaty it feels in your hands. It really is conducive to a performance-oriented 9 and 3 hand position. They are also right on the paddle shifters, and that is another thing that I cannot describe how satisfying they truly are. These are lightning quick shifts. They are a command to the car. They are not a suggestion like they are in a lot of cars with automatic transmissions that are even, say, 5 years older. You don't experience that lag and kind of guesswork when the vehicle is going to shift gears. As you can see, there is absolutely no lag between me hitting the upshift paddle and the car going into the next gear. So kind of continuing on about this steering wheel, you can see that it is embroidered with this beautiful microfiber suede and this carbon fiber woven into the top and the bottom of the steering wheel. On the steering wheel, you do have 2 touch sensitive buttons. So in theory, you can control all of this vehicle's infotainment system without ever having to take your hands off the wheel. This one controls the left display, and this one controls the right half of the display. We do have the controls for the cruise control. On the steering wheel, you have your on and off, your resume and cancel. You can set and adjust your speed, and then over here, this is equipped with Distronic Plus. Now let's talk about what's going on in the center console. This is where things get really interesting, because what's unique about this particular vehicle is it is not equipped with the MBUX that you see on the A-Class as well as the 2020 GLE, but it does have the touchpad that is from that system. One thing that's really different is the shortcuts on this car to get to your parking camera, your navigation, your radio, or your media, all in a quick access way. It's on this row that doesn't really look like it would be switches, but they absolutely are. But down here, this is where the show really comes to life. So what we have in the top left position is your dynamic select switch, and one thing you'll notice is that each one of these is not just a button, it has its own individual screen. This button I am quite a fan of. This is the manual transmission button. Down here we have our suspension dampening settings. There are 3 different settings. There is the comfort suspension, the sport suspension, and then there is a Sport Plus, which is going to be one incremental step towards like riding on rails, real race car on the road kind of feel. So below that, you can turn off the stability program in the vehicle. In the top right corner, this is not going to be regarding performance like a lot of people might expect. This is going to be a volume control for the stereo. Below that, we have the control for the automatic start-stop function in the car, and I know a lot of people are not the biggest fan of it, so this is a means for you to not have that happen. But what really separates this new engine called the M256 apart is the fact that it has a 48-volt electrical motor that's sandwiched between the back of the engine and the transmission. So this is an amazing feat of engineering. This is one vehicle where I do not find the automatic start-stop to be a hassle at all. Finishing up with these buttons on the bottom, this one is going to control the spoiler. So this vehicle does have an active spoiler that deploys to various heights at various different speeds and will come back down again depending on your driving and aerodynamic needs. However, if you want to control it and decide to make it look cool and pop it up, you absolutely have a means to do so. Press right there. And then in the bottom right, we have probably my favorite button in the car. It's going to be your AMG 2-stage performance exhaust. There are 2 different modes for it. There's balanced, which is the default. That's a little bit more subdued. What I would recommend though is the powerful exhaust. It opens up these baffles that makes a little bit louder. This is the AMG GT63. This car is amazing in every sense of the word. This does everything. You can have 4 people in it and go on a weekend trip. You can take this to the track. You can bring it to a car show and wow everyone there. I mean, this really is an all-around solid car. So these are kind of my thoughts on the AMG GT63. I hope you guys found it informative, and I really hope you enjoyed watching. Thanks.